How do you know if something is a good investment in Hypixel Skyblock? Well, if you invest in an item simply just to invest, then of course you want to see good returns. But if it's an item that you're actually going to use, then at least you don't want to lose coins. Now, it's difficult to predict the future. Realistically, who knows if something is going to be a good investment or a bad investment? Anything could happen. Updates could come into the game, changing the metas and changing the way things work, impacting the item that you have. But there's one thing that you definitely can control, and that's basically not wasting your money on silly things. You might be thinking, Nitros, you've salvaged a Terminator before, so why should we listen to you? Well, first of all, I just really wanted the 36 Dragon Essence. Yeah, that's just not true. Obviously, it was a mistake. What I'm trying to say is you can absolutely make better choices. Some simple examples may be just simply putting buy offers up rather than insta-buying things and waiting the extra 5 minutes. On items like a recombobulator, you're only really saving yourself around about 100k per. But for example, if we take a look at the scrolls, for instance Implosion, you'd be saving yourself around about 15 million coins if you were to put an offer up rather than insta-buy. Now granted, sure, you're going to have to wait a little bit for that offer to come in, and if you need it instantly then fair enough. But that's 15 mil that you could definitely put towards something else. So if I was to give you any piece of advice before you watch this video, it would be,
what is the most inspiring thing I ever said to you?
Don't be an idiot. Changed my life.
Anyway, if you are planning on purchasing anything from the Hypixel store, make sure to use code NITROS. It gets yourself 5% off. Also, you should subscribe to the channel. We're aiming for 100k subscribers before the end of this year. It's going to be difficult, but it is doable. But only with your help. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. And finally, you should join the Discord server. It's linked in the description of this video. We offer slayers and dungeon carries, so if you need carries or want to carry and make some coins, make sure to join. I just want to say that this video is essentially a re-upload, but actually with the full video, for some reason after 4 minutes, there was just no audio. Maybe it's time for a new editing software. Anyway, my apologies for that one. Okay, I quickly want to go over the auction house because you can lose a lot of money on the auction house, not only from bad investments, but just not really knowing how much money you're going to lose when you sell an item. First of all, when you list an item on the auction house, you pay a 1% fee. So if you, for instance, list an item for 100 coins, you pay 1 coin. You list an item for 1,000,000 coins, you pay 10,000 coins, and of course that just increases and increases depending on how much the item actually costs. So that means if you list an item, take it down and relist it to undercut somebody, you're essentially losing the best part of 2%. Because you're paying 2 listing fees. If you do it 3 times, it's 3%. And also, you pay tax when you actually claim an item after it's sold. There are thresholds, and for expensive items, you'll pay 2.5%. So on expensive items, at minimum, you're going to pay 3.5% of the value of the item in fees and taxes, which is a lot of money. You have to keep that in mind. For instance, my coins spent on fees is over 1.1 billion coins. Imagine if I had those 1.1 billion. Another speedrun to losing coins on the auction house is basically falling for market manipulations. This is usually prominent in pet skins or cosmetics. Usually pretty old ones where there isn't actually that many in circulation. Players will buy out the rest of the market and then basically sell the skin or the item for an increased price, meaning that you think it's the cheapest on the AH, when in actual fact you're getting ripped off. Now I'm not saying that this is the case for these 2 skins here, but yeah. Unless you really know what you're doing with pet skins, especially expensive ones, I'd probably stay away from them, and that goes for majority of cosmetics. There's a couple of quick ones that I want to get out of the way, such as just have a good minion setup down. You know, you're going to make your money back, especially if you're going for money. You know, slime minions are a great choice, despite what people say they're not as good as they were, so on, so on, so on. I need to sort mine out, but yeah, just have a good minion setup. Otherwise, you're essentially just losing money not having a good minion setup down. You're not losing money, but you're missing out on potential money. If you don't have a lot of coins, make sure that you put all of them in the bank as well, and you have a little bit of space to gain interest. For people who have a lot more coins, I guess making a few 100k every day and a half isn't really a big deal. So I decided to ask my Discord server what are some of the stupidest things that you could spend your money on, so what I'm going to list right now you should probably avoid. Gambling. Well, it depends what you really define gambling as. Now, you may even say that certain aspects of the game like Slayers or Dungeons are gambling because at the end of the day, they're RNG, and you would kind of be right, but more direct forms of gambling such as dice, stay away. Unless you're really lucky. Giving contraband. Okay, now sure, you know, you could give some contraband to Nitro, so it'll be a great investment. Realistically, it's probably not. If you don't have money to give, simply don't give it. If you're in a situation where you have an abundance of money, then giving away a little bit probably won't hurt much. But if you're giving away money just for the sake of it because it's your favourite YouTuber, that's fair, but you're going to lose out a lot yourself. Infernal Hollow. Now, this isn't actually as bad as people think. Hear me out. For instance, if you get Mana Regen, Mana Pool Hollow, because you can't afford the God Roll Aurora pieces. Realistically, that Holo set isn't going to be much worse than the Aurora set. There's very little difference in actual fact in terms of intelligence. For instance, if you get to a point where you can afford, I guess, like a base God Roll Aurora set, then you can just transfer everything you've got on that Holo setup to the Aurora. So yeah, it's a bit silly, and if you're at the point where you've got Infernal Holo, you can probably get Aurora, but who knows? Alright, what's with the unnecessary shade? Future 77 makes great financial decisions. Now, in all seriousness, if you have the money to spend on whatever you want, why not? For Future, I wouldn't take this, okay? The Enrager, splendid. 27.3 Hyperions, great. 97 Terminators, perfect. But in all seriousness, sure, he's known for spending a lot of money on things that most people probably wouldn't spend the money on, but at the same time, do most people have the money that he has? No. So who are you to say that he's wrong? You've got to respect the grind. Buying things for more money than they are worth, maybe by accident, early game buying things you don't need, and basically probably can't use. And this one is a little bit more serious than just saying Future 77, but seriously, this is true. I remember when I first started playing the game, I started buying items left and right without even caring about the requirement, thinking that I'll just be able to get it. I don't even know. I think I bought a Dreadlord sword. I don't even actually know what it was. At this point, I'd never done a single dungeon, and I had no idea what Catacombs requirement was, and I just could not understand why I couldn't use certain items. This is much more prominent for earlier game players, but I'd really just double check as to what you're actually buying. You can, number one, actually use, and number two, you aren't massively overpaying for. Even not long ago, I accidentally bought a Midas staff that had 10 mil paid for it in the first place, when obviously I was meaning to buy a 100 mil Midas staff, thinking it was a 100 mil Midas staff, and I lost over 100 million coins on that, and realistically, that wasn't even that long ago. It just shows how easy it is for anyone to make any kind of mistake, and yeah, this is coming from somebody who was salvaged a Terminator, so you might be thinking, you know, you're a bit dodgy. What I do have to say is there is a fine line, because some people are really scared of spending the coins because, well, they don't want to waste them. But at the same time, realistically in Skyblock, you have to spend coins to progress. So it's important that you do your research before you go ahead and make a purchase, especially if it's a relatively big one. Okay, something else to be really careful about is, you know when you're kind of enchanting your armor, most people do /hex because quality of life is just way easier to access anything through /hex. Anyway, when you're putting your enchantments on and you basically head over to the tab, enchantments, and you should look out for this, especially if you have a high purse and are prone to a misclick. The more coins you have in the purse, the easier it is to waste and lose them really quickly. Anyway, let's take a look at the enchantments we've got. Say for instance if I wanted to put, I don't know, protection or growth on this, how easy would it be just to simply accidentally put Protection 7 instead of Protection 6 and waste the best part of, what, 50 million coins? I reckon that is really easy to do, and I think a lot of people probably have done it. A similar thing goes with something like Mana Vampire. You might think, oh, well, it's not going to cost me that much to put Mana Vampire 10 on, when you realise it's 110 million coins, and you just accidentally, or not even thinking about it, just go right to the end and click. The problem's that, seriously, can affect, I mean, especially affecting this, in this case, people with a really high purse, so probably not relatively early game players. In a nutshell, all I'm really trying to say is just be careful and do your research before purchasing something, especially with relatively rare items, maybe like pet skins or some sort of cosmetics. You never really know what you're buying and things can be market manipulated, just really be careful. At the same time, you need to progress and you need to spend coins, but spending coins on the right thing is what you need to do. Anyway, if you did enjoy today's video, make sure you do leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.